Hello, ladies and gentlemen. There has been so many technical difficulties in this here daily. There's an odd sampling error that randomly occurs when you turn on the microphone in XSplit. I don't know why the new update of XSplit caused it, but it has. So for you archive viewers, you'll never know. But for the live folk, I was coming on and I was just like... It was like playing Slender. It was terrible. But you know what? We will strive on because we believe in this cool thing that LiquidSea is doing. Now, let's come back to the game, damn it. If you're going Marine frickin' tank against Zerg, frickin' Marine frickin' tank, what are ways that you can apply a pressure onto your opponent? You can attack, because Marine tank works well in virtually any number with the exception of high tank count, low Marine count. As long as you are high on Marines, or even reasonably sized on Marines, attacking works. So that is how you apply pressure. Tanks function generally very, very poorly in small numbers. So how do we apply pressure? That was the question I asked at the end of part number 1, and here is a solution that LiquidSea proposed. It is multi-pronged attack, one from air and one from Hellion. I think that this is nifty frickin' tastic. Traditionally, you don't get this second reactor on this factory. Traditionally, you just go with 4 factories with tech labs, so that way you can build up this tank army as quickly as possible and beat your opponent in the frickin' face as early as possible. However, C is going to do some cool stuff. He even has himself a barracks floating here, yeah. First of all, 1-1 is getting done. I recommend that because, just so you know, just in case you didn't know them maths, 21 damage per shot. The +1 Blue Flame Hellion, 2 shots, kill a Woika. So C doing also a very common play, which is to build your 4th command center early, even though you're not generally going to do anything with it. You're not really going to expand with it. So cool, this little force can help us deal with drops and harassment. And also, because we built this Raven early, we can patrol back and forth and ensure that our opponent is continuing to be shut down in general vision. It's very risky for him to fly an observer in here. Notice this is the first time that our Protoss buddy is even getting sight of that. And the last. Got him.
Ready to raise some hell.
So, I'm really intrigued. Or I was really intrigued when I saw a C do just this really simple Raven Viking technique. This is, I would call, a technique. It's not like an essential part of the build. It can actually be used in almost any build. Just getting Raven Viking against Protoss. It will shut down the observers. Really, really, really shut it down. And when we shut down observers, we get the advantage of not only having hidden information in the base, but also having hidden information in how we're attacking. Only broad attacks can really be covered when our observers are not in good position. So for instance, this could quite easily be cleaned up. Actually, should have been cleaned up. That's a little bit sloppy. But here comes C, gathering all his frickin' Hellions together. Oh, there he is. There, he got it now. Yeah, so now we have this fun little thing happening where Protoss is largely in the dark. But C has moved out in this way that will force our opponent to respond. Cool, we like it. C is trying to avoid all of the watchtowers. And no matter what composition this is, even if it's Blink Stalkers, actually, only if it's exclusively Blink Stalkers will we have trouble. Against almost anything else, we're going to do some pretty considerable damage to his Zealot force. And Colossus would give us some issues. But look at this badass frickin' C. One of the other big reasons why we go for earlier extra command centers as a meching player, we now have the opportunity to do these extra scans. Yeah. And also significant to note, that comment I made, extra command centers for extra scans, that's inherently an aggressive move, an attacking move, a in the right now move. Many people know about the way long down the line, once I'm maxed, I can sacrifice 50 SCVs and use just mules to get my minerals, so that way I can have a 160 food army. But here, I'm more so interested in the attack now sort of stuff. Now, no matter how good you are with your control, it's very difficult to deal with this many Hellions getting into the worker line. No matter what. But also the fact that this is a multi-pronged attack is sweet.
I'm in a heap of trouble.
C just launches full on into this base.
Raise some hell.
And because the Hellions were still dealing damage there, dealing with this is very difficult. Also, the one last little tidbit of the Raven is that this is pretty sweet. The fact that we can even throw an auto turret down there. In general, warp prisms just suck against me. They're just bad because you're only ever going to have middle to small amounts of units, and the Terran player can return with 100% of the Hellions. Nice. Nice.
Ready to plunder.
I thought that was a nifty, thrifty little play. Now, in the Units Lost tab, I will point out that the amount of resources lost in the attack is very, very equal to the opponent. Yeah. But certainly the fact that his stuff is all workers is really good for us. And the fact that we only have tanks in the background is really good for us. But still, keeping up with the reactor production, I thought was super cool. If we're going to be tossing out a ton of Hellions, we need to have some way to replenish a ton of Hellions. Coming back to this concept of what do you want to do, and then what do you have to do as a response. If we want to do these huge, aggressive, blast the shit out of them kind of harassments where we send in 30 or so Hellions, then we have to have some way to replenish all those Hellions. Just because Speed Zealots and Immortals will kill us
Complete.
super badly.
Mineral field depleted.
And also, the last little bit of that
Upgrade complete.
trio of attacks, it wasn't just
Mineral
the Hellions going down to bottom left and this happening in the bottom right. The third piece of the puzzle is the Planetary Fortress gets up. A snapback attack still is not going to really have that much opportunity to hurt us, to wound us, to do the bad things to us. And one thing I've seen C do probably more than any other player is the instant, or no matter what, he always has a counterattack force ready with the Hellions. Like, we have a regular set of Hellions right here. And it's not all the Hellions, but the instant this attack starts coming, he counterattacks. This is just incredibly uncommon to see meching players do. They'll do the big Hellion attacks, like to kill this off, but they'll decide to do it sort of at their own pace. Like, C did... where is it? This funky attack business here with the Hellions going here, that was a decision by C aligning with this expansion. But this sort of move, this, oh, you have a huge army in mid-map and sending it out, I actually don't see it that much. And C does it literally like almost every time his opponent moves out. And like super duper dedicates to it. Lack of balls. Other than that, it's just standard upgrading. Cool tactic tree. After we do that assault, we should also probably be sending those Hellions right to here. But we see yet another big push coming. And C repositions everything instantly. Now, one of the things that I suppose is a little bit unfortunate is that given the positioning, I actually think that these rocks should totally be taken down no matter what if we take into space. These tanks could not get there quickly enough. We didn't have enough vision up in mid-map. So our Protoss buddy did kill off this expansion.
Our SCVs are under attack.
And some workers. However, tanks, being the frickin' awesome unit that they are, it is merely unfortunate that we ended up losing that expansion because C just boxes and goes. And this I thought was a super incredibly clean example of a really well executed aggressive meching style. It reminds me very much so of the Brood War. Especially this little tactical move Well, I've been building up tanks all game, and he lost a lot of army after I killed a base. Cool, I only have 3 places to defend, let me go. And then, when the Protoss decides to counterattack, Terran pulls back all the tanks and leaves the more mobile unit to finish off the expansion. If there was an emergency, these could return back to this line at any point in time.
Ready to raise some hell.
And then, of course, no matter how good your opponent is and how great his macro is, sieging up that many tanks is hard to deal with. And then LiquidSea does the 1A-a-thon. 1A, 1A. You can tell my brain's been slightly distracted by all the tech issues today and the election that's still going on my 3rd monitor. So that's fine. I'm more than happy to just go 1A, 1A, Immortals all the way. Nope, sir. Gonna take them down. Mr. Protoss has a frown. Take them out, see. Take them out, see. Shout, shout, let it all out. Oh, yeah. These are the things I can do without. Come on. Come on, GG, man. I'm talking to you. Oh god, see only one because he's a patch Zerg. Oh, what derogatory slag. Siege him on up. See you later. Okay, cool. Here's GG against the infamous barcode. Now, because it looks like we have a little bit more time, I'm actually going to blast through another replay real fast. Apologies for the timing, I think, being a little bit thrown off. I'm kind of doing like the stop and go style daily. We're doing a 2-parter again because of the tech issues. I want to just show another way to play off this aggressive mech style we saw out of C. In the last game, I would say that it was a containment play, which is Raven Viking to contain the observers, Hellions to contain with counterattack, allowing us to get double upgrades and then lots of tank, tank, tank. Tonk, 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 tonk. In this game, we're going to see quite the cool play from C. Okay, sweet. We're going for this. We're going for this pretty standard wall in double refinery. Do-do-do-do-do for the longest time. And there it is, the reactor going down.
SCV ready. SCV
Cool.
Upgrade.
Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Going for, again, the Hellion Banshee. It's a very flexible mixture for the 3rd command center, as one would anticipate. Cool. And what gets constructed right out the bat? Oh! Banshee. Kroku. This is another form of containment. And again, why Hellions early? Because most generally, we will be against a player who is building small gateway units at the start. And we can do this sort of stuff quite effectively. Banshees are an excellent contain the opponent unit because cloak and potential harassment means that he is going to be on dot defensive.
SCV ready. Ready to raise some hell.
So we're going to see C continue to do the cloak harassment. This is annoying. I think it is kind of cool occasionally to take out a stalker or two, but certainly probes are going to be our primary modus operandi. But the one thing that I think is starting to hurt C in this circumstance is that there's no coordination of attack. If these Hellions were there when that Banshee moved up, he could have done some shots and then sent the Hellions in to poke at the front.
SCV ready.
And so C, in the end, just starts transitioning into tanks when he can, pulling the Hellions back, but having, like, no counter-attack threat. Banshees, there's one Banshee out here somewhere. It's, like, all the way pulled back by the main base.
SCV ready.
This is one of these moments where we actually see truly how fragile a playstyle like this can be. Where a single counterattack can leave us completely and totally screwed. So what's happening up to this point in time? C opened up with a mech play and was trying to do some harassment, but harassment is good only insofar as it contains and it puts the opponent back. If you think about the way Terran vs. Zerg works with opening those 2 Hellions, you'll oftentimes see players unnecessarily go in there and sacrifice their Hellions to try to kill off some workers. What happens to the Zerg? He gets total free creep spread. He gets to send speedlings at you and it can catch you off guard. A lot of bad things happen when those early Hellions are lost. So a lot of Terrans have just started to be really passive with it. And I think this is an interesting example of what can happen when the harassment ends up having some misses occur in the start of it. Because interestingly, as C does have this happen, and why did this happen? Because C basically just didn't have any map control anymore. And even with that said, this sort of counterattack play from C ends up being wildly effective. Very uncommon play. We generally see this sort of play versus a Marine Marauder player. Both players are focused right here. Now we have C being able to come back and kill off most of the opponent's workers. Ah! In the unit station, they're both economically burned. And C kind of has to go into the emergency defensive procedure mode. But even so, siege tanks on the... Like, imagine this map, siege tanks on the high ground, with a Viking and a Raven there to target fire down any observers. Like, it would be almost impossible to break. Hell, you could just plant 2 siege tanks here, and 2 siege tanks here, and then just try to maintain vision and pick off observers, and you'd be great. There'd be almost nothing that your opponent could do about it. And with these sort of counterattack potentials open at any given point in time, you could get yourself into a good spot. That said, C totally loses this game in a short period of time, as you might have surmised. And we now have ourselves the conclusion of a very short part 2. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Election Day Daily. Oh, man. A 2-parter, technical issues. Woo, baby. Excellent. Man. Oh, man. Anyone want to ask some questions? Just, like, have some fun? Let me refresh this thing. F5. Oh, did Obama win? Did Obama? Viva Obama! Yeah, Obama! Hooray! Obama won that election. Let it all out. Crap. From Kalano. Day9, what do you think about turrets instead of ravens? I think the raven is going to be a lot more effective for dealing with the observers, because, I mean, actually, I'm trying to think. Is there... I think the observer range is such that if you built a turret on the high ground and a tank next to it, your opponent could still walk up, kill off the turret, and then kill off the tank, and there's not really anything that you could do about it. But, I mean, you just need so many turrets to be able to defend the observers anyways. So, yeah, I mean, the Raven's much better for dealing with the observer defense. In terms of just when are turrets useful in Mech versus Protoss versus Colossus, they can actually be pretty reasonably good. Especially if you have like a siege tank and a turret like right there. The turret will do a shitload of damage to the Colossus before it falls down. Yeah. Red Ball 3 says, Day9, what is an effective way to handle a meching Terran as P? Blinkstalkers! Blinkstalkers are so much better than Zealots! I actually think Speed Zealots are quite bad against mech. Maybe in small numbers, but they just die almost immediately to Blue Flame Hellions. So, sure, the Storm and the Immortal and the Blinkstalker is so good. And expanding and putting cannons and walling off areas with buildings and having lots of observers on the corners. Blinking into his main as a counterattack is fantastissimo, because the only thing he can answer with quickly is the Hellion. Don't overblink into the main, because then he will counterattack with your Hellions and you will lose all your workers. But mobility, exploiting it with counterattacking and expanding. From Reaping You says, Day 9, when creating a build for each matchup as Protoss, what is the best method of creating said build? Guess and check, taking notes, etc., etc. I say, pick a matchup first, shoink. Watch mini games of the matchup and see what the other race is doing. The other race. Most of what knowing how to play a matchup is about is knowing the other race. So, for instance, if I was doing a Zerg versus Protoss analysis from the Zerg's point of view, I would talk almost exclusively about Protoss timings, what the Protoss can and can't do, and what it means for Protoss. So if you're a Protoss player and you're picking, say, Protoss versus Terran, talk about, like, well, when does Terran tend to have his third base started? When does Terran tend to not have Ghosts? When does he start to get Ghosts? When does he have no stim for Marines? And once you have those, you ask questions about when you can perform said actions. So, like, for the basic conceptualization of a build, I will say, like, any inspiration's fine. Thinking of it on your own, watching someone else do it and stealing it, but doing it in the context of knowing what he's capable of. So, I want to take a fast third. So that's a build that you'd want to do. But then you'd say things like, well, there was that one game I saw where that guy did a Marine attack at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And that other game where I saw Flash do a Marine medevac attack at 10 minutes. Okay, well, I guess my build, if I want to get 3 bases, I have to be able to hold off Marines at 7:30 and Marine medevac at 10. And cool, now you have goals for your build. But again, know what the hell he can possibly do. And then when you think of your build, all the questions are going to come from there, and then it becomes really clear what you need to work on. So I'm going to pick another build. 1 base, 2 gateway robo. Let's say that's the opening before you expand. Okay, well, then we're just going to start listing stuff out. Well, how do you deal with a player who is rushing for a Banshee? Maybe I can attack him before the Banshee comes up. Maybe I can just stay home and defend with an observer and 2 stalkers. What about an early expand? How do I deal with an early expand? Well, maybe I can just attack with Immortals and do some damage there. What if he's going for, I think, a 1-1-1? Well, maybe I can just Colossus rush. You start getting these answers for things. And I also like to have a goal kind of down the end. So I'm going to open up 2-gate robo, and the eventual goal I want to have is 3 bases, 9 gateways, Blink Stalkers, and a bunch of Colossus and upgrades. I have this late goal, so then I can say things like, well, okay, if he's early expanding, then I'm going to attack him while I expand, and I should probably build 1 forge. Let me see if I have enough money to build 1 forge and get an upgrade started, because down the line I want hella upgrades. Well, if he's expanding, maybe I can just begin my Colossus production early and build some Stalkers. So I've just answered the same question in a different way. So hopefully you're starting to get the idea. I'm going to take one more. From Drinkin' Mars, Day 9, would you prefer Banshee or tanks? Tanks. I love tanks in this matchup. I think they're awesome. I freaking love tanks. I love tanks. Okay? I love them. On a more serious note, Banshees in my eyes seem better at small unit cleanup. And defending from odd angles, like units dropped in the main, they're good at harassment, but I don't feel like they're as great in big ass engagements. Although I don't know. I genuinely wonder what would happen if a Terran player went... That actually is an interesting question. What if a Terran player goes Reactor, Hellion, Expand, or Expand, Reactor, Hellion, Banshee, and then adds on 2 more starports and just goes Mass Banshee? Mass Banshee, Hellion. Technically, you could go for the Phoenix. Be hard to find, though. I don't know. That's kind of cool. I'm done. I'm just going to call it quits. Hope you enjoyed this lackadaisical daily, I would say. Had a little bit of fun today doing things like looking at the games, talking about mech. Obama got elected. A little tired from MLG Dallas, a little tired from a recording I had to do today. But overall, I'm delighted that I got to do, at the very least, a daily this week. I will see you... I don't know when the next daily is going to be because I'm going to Lone Star Clash, and after that I'm going to China for WCS. So without any further ado, go to my website, day9.tv, to find out all the links for all those things I said so I don't have to repeat them on air. Mwah! I will be tweeting. Follow me on Twitter if you really want the true story of what's going on with me. Until then, I hope you have a thrilling week. I said thrilling! Oh, baby.